got experience in competing in speech contests. First panelist, we got Joe Grondin, who competed in many speech contests at all levels. He even been a finalist at the World Championship of Public Speaking. Also, we got Crystal Cobb, an experienced Toastmaster who last year she competed at the district level for humorous speech contest, and also she won the evaluation contest at the district conference. Our third panelist is Tom Maciso, who's over 15 years of experience with Toastmasters, and he competed in many speech contests at the area and division levels. So I will just explain how it's going to work tonight. So I will ask 5 questions to each panelist. I will start with the first, and I'll ask the 3 panelists about that questions, and I will do the same for all 5 questions. The timer, who's Anne Doucette, will show the green card at 2 minutes. And if you go through, she will show the red card at 2 minutes 30 seconds. So if you see the red card, please wrap up. So after we complete all these questions with the panelists, we will ask the audience for a question. You can also put your question in the chat if you want. So before we start, the panelists, do you have any questions?
No questions for me.
Good. So I'm going to start with Joe. Joe, why did you decide to participate to speech contest?
That, Mr. Moderator, is a great question. In the fact that when I started, my why for competing changed over time as I dwelled into all the speech contests. There was a particular Toastmaster back in 2002 who believed in me, who mentioned the World Championship of Public Speaking. And when it becomes a dream, an adventure, and it's always good to have somebody who believes in you, and her name was Shirley Kelly. That was part of my why, not to disappoint her. But as most of you know, and I've said this before, I don't have a competitive bone in my body. Okay, I am very competitive. I love good, healthy competition. And competition became a different why as I progressed. As I said before, my why became a competition within myself. You see, when I joined Toastmasters, I wanted to be an inspirational, motivational speaker. I wanted to play my part in trying to change the world. Sometimes during contests, we lose grip of that concept and the fact that we are all speakers. We all have a gift. We all have a message within ourselves that has the potential to change the world. As I started, my why became being the best, wanting to win that trophy. And then I realized that the why changed to wanting to give the world a gift. I am passionate and an advocate about helping children. And as soon as I changed that why to competition to be the best speaker I can possibly be, there is no better way than being involved in the speech contests. It's the quickest way to learn about yourself, to learn about yourself as a speaker, to learn how to connect with an audience. This is why I think that competitions and speech contests is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm using an old analogy. It's because it pushes you to be the best you can be because you want to give the gift to the world. It's not about the speaker. It's about being the best that you can deliver that speech that can make a difference. So that becomes my why whenever I compete, is to get that message out to the world. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Joe, for that answer. This was very, very interesting to see that. And you have a question? Oh, so we're
No,
gonna
as
go with
timer,
our.
I'm just leaving my hand up to
Oh,
make it
sounds good.
easier to
Sorry.
spot me.
So we're gonna go with our next panelist. So I'm gonna ask the question to Crystal Cobb. So, Crystal, why did you decide to participate to speech contest?
Well, Antoine, for a couple of reasons. I joined Toastmasters in 2016, and I had my first contest at the club level in 2017. I thought I would be funny at the humorous speech contest. I don't know how, but I did make it to the area contest, and I was super excited about that. But let me tell you, I bombed it at the area. I did my speech and I was like, this is great. Not one person laughed about anything I said, and it broke me. I actually didn't compete in a speech contest again until last year. Not because I was completely broken. A lot of it was due to because I took the leadership path and I was an area director, division director, and so on. So I wasn't eligible to compete. But last year, I didn't have a leadership role where it would exclude me from competing. So I thought I'm going to redeem myself and be funny and put my hand in the evaluation contest as well. So it was really about facing my fear and proving to myself that I wasn't going to bomb it again. I also wanted to prove that I could move up in the levels and get past area this time. And the third reason why I decided to participate in speech contest really was to help myself grow and to be a role model for others. Because when you do things in our Toastmasters journey, you may inspire others. And I love inspiring others and showing people what's possible and what better way to do that than to do it yourself and bring others and encourage others along. So those are the main reasons that I participated in speech contests. And I hope that my story does encourage others to do so. Antoine, back to you.
Thank you, Crystal. I think you got very good reason to compete, and probably it will help others to decide to compete. So now, Tom, I will ask you, why did you decide to participate to speech contest?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and fellow panelists and guests. It's a privilege to be here. I remember back in the 7th grade. Anybody else have this experience? Back in the day, there were these blackboards. There wasn't whiteboards. They were just old-fashioned chalk blackboards. And my teacher, who was a math teacher, said, come on up to the board, Tom. And I was called Tommy back then, but come on up to the board, Tommy, and I want you to do this equation. Well, what happened? I just froze. I couldn't do it. And eventually she told me to have a seat and I crawled back to my seat. But ever since then, I said, I am going to overcome whatever this was. So I really joined Toastmasters for that reason, because that reason stuck with me. And I've learned through mentors and I've learned through great speakers, like for instance, our panelists, that you can overcome it because it is audience centered. You speak to your audience and it's less about you and it's more about your audience and making that connection. And my first mentor in Toastmasters is a great Toastmaster who's no longer in, but he is still a good friend of mine, Mike Harris. And I remember the first contest that I was in. he happened to be in it as well. And he's giving me pointers as a fellow contestant. He's telling me what to do. I said, that is who I want to be. I want to be that person who helps others, even in a speech contest. And I hope that I can do that and pay it forward for others, because it's just another way to kind of look at where your skills are and where your public speaking is at. And that's all. And the camaraderie, especially as I think Crystal was mentioned, when you get up to the area and division and the other outside of the club, it's fun. It's fun to be with other members who have similar likes and that compete with you, because you end up making that connection. Back to you, Antoine. Look, you're on mute.
Thank you, Tom. That was really a great story. So now we're gonna go to the next questions. So this time I'm gonna start with Crystal. So Crystal, how competing at different level was beneficial for you?
Antoine, I would say how I benefited was really from building my confidence, because as I had mentioned in my first question, was that I knew, actually, it wasn't only a feeling. I knew I bombed that first time when I was at the area contest, and I was scared to compete again. I really was. Because when you have that feeling where you're thinking, "Oh, I'm doing so great and I'm funny," and then it's silence. And you're just like, "Oh my God, what do I do now?" And I really had to build my confidence to get past that feeling of defeat. As I started moving up from the club to the area, and then I won at the area, I moved to division, that helped build my confidence and my skills. I was constantly watching and listening to other competitors, and I was learning from them as they spoke, seeing what I felt they did really well and points where I thought they might be able to improve. And then I took that and reflected back on my own presentation. I really focused on the delivery of my speech and not so much the content, because I wanted to bring my audience into my speech and really connect with them. And I was able to do that at different levels with different people. We speak in our clubs often. We may have the same evaluators, the same similar feedback. So as I got to the higher levels, I was able to get the reactions from the people watching, and I could kind of sense on what they were thinking of my presentation. Obviously, when we're in contests, we don't get the feedback from the judges, but when you're speaking to your audience, you can tell if they're listening, if they're engaged, and they're actually picking up what you're putting out there. And as Joe mentioned earlier, it helped me connect with the audience and really communicate my message, because when we're delivering speeches, even at a contest, we always should and do, in my case, have a message, and we want to make sure that our audience is getting that clearly. So competing at the different levels helped me build my skills in those ways. Antoine?
Thank you, Crystal. That's really great to see how competing at different level helped you to build your confidence and grow. That's really good. So now I'm going to ask a second panelist. So I'm going to ask Tom, if you want to answer this question. How competing at different levels was beneficial for you?
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. And I think it's a great question, because I don't want to give you the same exact answer as Crystal, because I do feel very similarly. But I do want to say that as your quality of contests the quality of your contests improve with the area and especially the division. And it just makes you become better because competition makes us better. And I noticed everything about that. I noticed that the functionaries were right on it, and the judges, the chief judge was right on it. The host is running a clean and crisp contest, and it just was. I felt proud to be in those types of contests, and I really it just like the old saying goes, high tide lifts all boats. I felt like I became a better speaker because of this scenario of really, really professional Toastmasters that were running this. But I also want to just say that whether you're a contestant or not, just know that when you help run a contest, that helped you grow as a Toastmaster as well. And I've done both. I've been functionaries and been judges, and I've been a judge, and I've been in other areas. And I just think that it benefits everyone to have that type of professional setting. Thank you, Antoine.
Thank you, Tom, for your answer. It was very good to hear. So now I'm going to ask the question to Joe. How competing at different level was beneficial for you?
Thank you for that question. And my fellow panelists answered that question so well. I'm going to say ditto. But I will expand on that a little because I truly believe at each level, the higher the level, the higher the bar. And I know Crystal alluded to it, Tom alluded to it, and I see there are many speech contestants on this call. And the one thing that I'll challenge speech contestants is when you learn along the way, the higher levels you go, not only focus on your job as a speaker and do the best that you possibly can, but also observe. Observe at each level, what is it that speaker has that maybe I don't have, and how can I learn? And then it becomes a process of being a better speaker and to be humble and to be open to that feedback, because the higher the level, the higher the bar. And if you're going to meet the bar, I remember being in the World Championship finals, sitting with the top 9 speakers in the world. And when everything was said and done, a speaker beside me by the name of Eric looked over at me and he said, "Joe, if you don't win the World Championships, will you come back and compete again?" And I looked over at him and I said, well, first of all, I didn't win. I didn't even come in the top 3 because there were things and talents and gifts that those speakers had at that level that I didn't. And I realized at that point, I wasn't ready to win the World Championship of Public Speaking. I wasn't ready to be in the top 3. So what is it that I need to incorporate in myself as a speaker that will bring me to that top level? I realized that my humor wasn't strong enough. I realized that my message wasn't global, a message that anybody in the world will get something from. I learned so much from those higher levels. So the next time you go up in levels, do the best you can on your speech at that moment, but make it a goal to observe the other speakers at that level and see what is it that you like about it. And even walk up to that speaker and quiz them. How did you do that? And learn. And that's how you become a better speaker, through speech contests. Back to you, Antoine.
Thanks, Joe, for the answer. I think it was very helpful to hear this. It was very good. So we're gonna go now to the third question. So this time I'm gonna start with Tom. So Tom, could you give tips and tricks for members who are competing for the first time?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Antoine. I think the biggest tip that I could give all of you and anybody that wants to compete in a speech contest is learn. Learn about the process. We're used to helpful and detailed evaluations in our meetings, and we have a different process for speech contests where you're judged off a specific form. So I would say learn about how you're judged. I would say learn about the speech contest process, as the other panelists mentioned. Learn while you're there, but also maybe go on YouTube and learn about how people prepare for speech contests. I also would say that if you have a mentor, I mentioned Mike Harris, we had many sessions where he told me what I did wrong, but then he told me what I can improve on. And then he told me how he got through it. And that was the best piece of advice because he said, I was there once too, Tom. I know how it is. You got to slow down, you have to breathe, and you have to have that message. So I would say having the mentor, learning all about the forms on how you're judged, and learning about the process from the International Speech Handbook is the three things that I would say. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. I think you're right. We need to prepare before competing to know all the process of speech contests. So now I'm gonna go for the next panelist. I'm gonna ask Joe. Could you give tips and tricks for members who are competing for the first time?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was at the district conference last year, and I know she's on this call, and I don't mean to embarrass her, but Jolene won the humorous speaking contest. The tips and tricks she already has. The first element to be a good speech contestant is to work like a champion, to constantly work on your craft as a speaker, to work on your message, and be the one getting up early in the morning and working on a speech. Be the one that does it when you don't feel like doing it. Be the one that starts early to enter the contests. Tom alluded to this major trick and tip, and that's a mentor. When I started the speech contests, and when I watched Jolene, I know David's on the call, I know Crystal, and you've all participated in speech contests, so you know this, is to get people maybe that are better speakers than you to help you. I had three ladies helping me when I first started the speech contests. And one of the things that they did so well is they told me the truth. And boys, did it hurt. And when you get the truth, that's, to my mind, kindness. When you get a mentor that gives you feedback and you accept that feedback and you decide what feedback to take and what not to take, and to be able to use that feedback to be a better speaker. And I have to tell you, I've stood in front of hundreds and thousands of people in an audience, but I was more nervous presenting in front of these three ladies because they weren't afraid to mentor me and tell me the truth. Find speakers that are better than you, that will help you along the way. And the last tip that I can give you, and I think it's probably the most important one, is don't be an imposter. Be yourself. Be you. We, as audience members, want to get to know you, not somebody else. Don't fall into the same trap that I fell into. I figured I needed to speak like this person, Dave Brooks, Craig Valentine, and it didn't work because the audience will know it's not you. So work like a champion. Have people help you that are better than you, and don't be an imposter, and you will do great in the speech contests. Back to you, Antoine.
Thank you, Joe, for your tips. I think that. So I'm gonna now ask that question to Crystal. So Crystal, could you give tips and tricks for members who are competing for the first time?
Thanks, Antoine. I was a little nervous to go last because I was worried Tom and Joe were going to give all my tips away. But thankfully, I have four different ones, and I think that they will complement the ones that have already been mentioned. The first one, don't focus on the result. Focus on the journey. This is so important because if you're constantly focusing on the result, you're missing the journey. There's so much that happens as you're preparing and going through the motions of getting ready to deliver this speech at the contest. So if you're only focused on the end result, being first, or what if I don't come in first, it is going to mask what you're really trying to incorporate into your speech. So always focus on the journey. That's my first tip. My second one is trust the process. What process am I talking about? Practice. Honestly, the first time that I competed in the contest when nobody laughed at my humorous speech, I didn't really practice. I thought I got this in the bag. It's my story. It happened to me. I know it. Why should I have to practice? Bad mistake. Practice, get feedback, and incorporate as you see fit. Joe mentioned a few minutes ago, some feedback you may not want to incorporate, and that's okay because it is your speech. But trust the process of practicing and getting the feedback and then practicing more because practice, I don't want to say it makes perfect because that's unrealistic, but it does help you improve and it builds your confidence as well and makes you feel prepared. My third tip, don't compare yourself to others. Yes, watch, listen to others, maybe take some of their tips and tricks that they use or things that they're doing and incorporate into yours, but don't compare yourself. Oh, they were so much better than me, because that's going to bring you nowhere. Focus on being a better you than you were yesterday. That's what your focus should be. And my fourth one, have fun, because that's what we're here to do. Yes, learn, grow, improve, but if you're not having fun, what's the point? I think those are my 4 tips that I would give to someone competing for the first time or the 100th time, just in case they forgot. Antoine, back to you.
Thanks, Crystal, for your tips and tricks. So I think all the 3 panelists give us a lot of tricks. I think just to follow what they said, for everyone who wants to compete, I think we got everything we should do to prepare ourselves to a speech contest. So now I'm going to go to the 4th question, and this time I'm going to start with Joe. Joe, what's one thing you'd do differently if you competed again?
Only one? Oh my goodness. There are so many, Antoine. And it depends on what competition you're talking about. I walked away from competitions and thinking, oh my gosh, Joe, you suck. So everything has to change. But I think if I had to go with one thing, I would have to go back to my previous comment on having a global message. What message do you have inside of you? And every one of you on this call has that message that is capable of changing somebody's life, a corner of the world, whatever it is. And in a speech contest, it's so important to create that message. There are people here I'm very passionate about advocating for children. There are people that advocate for the environment, whatever you're advocating. And you know what? Whatever your passion is deep down inside, there's a reason. There is a reason why you're passionate about that subject. I learned a very valuable skill a long time ago from Mark Hunter, who was a former world champion, and he called it the passion pit. Think about three things that you have a passion for. Put them down on three sticky notes, and every time you think about one, write down the idea. And the one passion that gets the most ideas, there's your message. Because you're digging deeper and deeper inside of you, a direct route to your heart. And another piece of advice that was given to me that I still use today, speak from your heart, you will always win. And like Crystal alluded to, it doesn't matter about where you place, what trophy you win or whether you win a trophy. Speak from your heart. And your heart is telling you what that passion is. And that passion leads to that global message that it doesn't matter who's in front of you in the audience. It will connect and has potential to change the world. It's not about the speaker. It's about the audience, which was already mentioned. Back to you, Antoine.
Thanks, Joe, for your answer. So now I'm gonna ask the same question to Crystal. So Crystal, what's one thing you'd do differently if you would compete again?
That one's really easy for me, Antoine, and it would be practice more. When I competed last year, I did deliver my speech multiple times to my clubs. They may have thought, oh, here we go, Crystal again, telling us the same story, but I needed to practice. But I think I would practice differently. More, yes, but differently. I would like to venture out to clubs that I haven't been to before and get feedback from people who haven't heard me multiple times or 50 times. Because getting feedback from people who've never heard you speak before, they bring a different perspective. They're listening to different things. They're seeing different things. And we know that feedback is how we grow. And I think through practice and having feedback from others, it would allow me to improve my speech even more. I love hearing the feedback from my club members, of course, but just that different perspective. I also practiced in my head a lot. I didn't write things out because I was too worried that I would forget that what was supposed to be coming next. So I did it more off the cuff. I practiced in my head, but I should have practiced more in front of a mirror so that I could also see my body language, my facial expressions, because that all plays into it when you're in a speech contest, especially when we're at the higher levels, because it's all in person. My clubs both meet online only. So when I got to the area, it was the first time I had delivered the speech in person, and thankfully I won. But I think I could have done better if I would have practiced in person. There are in-person clubs here in PEI that I could have visited and asked to practice my speech. And I think that would help me be better prepared as I move up through the levels if I choose to compete again. Back to you, Antoine.
Thanks, Crystal. I think that's very a good idea to practice your speech in front of a different audience to have more feedback. Thank you. So now I'm going to ask the question to Tom. So Tom, what's one thing you do differently if you would compete it again?
I really like this question, and I've been thinking about it as I listen to the other panelists, and I'm changing my answer on the fly, but a little bit. But I would say I would again practice, but practice with purpose. I think it really matters how you practice. And I would use video recordings more because a mirror or a video, they don't lie. What you get immediate feedback. And I sometimes, I want to be able to convey that message, and I want my gestures, and I want my tone, and I want my speaking voice to be consistent with that message. I get a lot of feedback from Donna Tasker, who's a club member of mine, and she says, Tom, your high voice was great, but you need to soften your voice when it's necessary. And so I just want you to know that your voice is a vocal instrument when you're speaking. And that's some of the best advice I've ever received. And so the other thing that I would do is it's been mentioned here by the other two panelists, but have fun. So how do you have fun at a speech contest when it's nerve-wracking and it's competition and all that? I think you need to take a step back and just admire the professionalism and get to know some of the other contestants, and you never know who you're going to hit it off with. And so it's good to be open. I often talk about the elevator, not the elevator speech, but going on the elevator and we're all looking at the numbers and nobody's talking. Well, we're Toastmasters. We can start a conversation. And so I think that is important. So take that risk when you're speaking at a speech competition and be vulnerable, but have that message that was talked about, and just be open to your heart, as was mentioned by Joe. Back to you, Antoine.
Thanks, Tom, for your answer. Was good. So we're gonna go to the next question. So this time I'm gonna start with Crystal. So Crystal, what's something no one told you before your first contest that you wish they had?
Antoine, I wish someone would have told me about the roller coaster of emotions that I would go through, because it was definitely a roller coaster. The first one for me was excitement. I'm excited. I'm going to compete. I'm preparing a speech. I'm going to deliver it in front of my members at the club level. This is exciting. Yay, me. And then it's like, oh no, what did I sign myself up to? I can't do this. What the heck? I don't know what I'm going to say. No one's going to laugh. All these emotions going through. And then you get your speech ready and you're like, okay, I can do this. Back to like positivity, excitement. Yes. Then it's the morning of, because I was in the breakfast club. It was the morning of, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do it. I'm sick. I'm going to throw up. Oh my God, what do I do? Freak out session. Yes, this is my experience so far. And then you get to the contest and everyone's all nervous, and they call on you, they announce what your speech title is, and they say your name, and the timer has started. You're excited, you're feeling good, kind of confident. You're like, yes, come to the end. You didn't see the red. You didn't go over time. Yes, I'm good. I'm not disqualified. And then it's the anticipation feelings, because you're like, oh, the judges, where are they? What's taking them so long? Hopefully there's no protest about me. Oh my gosh. The judges all come back, and then it's more anticipation, because you're like, are they going to call me? Don't call me yet. Don't call me yet. I don't want to be third. I don't want to be second. Call me. And then the emotions are like, oh, I didn't make it. Oh, I made it. So it's just like up and down and all over the place. And then the results are announced and you don't place, and you feel a little bit defeated, sad. Maybe there's tears. I don't know. There's all kinds of emotions flowing here. And then it's time to go home afterwards and reflect. Now what? What could I have done better? Will I compete again? Which contests will I try? How am I going to move forward? Are my club members disappointed in me? Am I disappointed in me? And then after you get through all that and you reflect some more days, weeks, months, maybe years, here I'm still reflecting on my first time, that humorous speech contest, right? And then I feel at peace. So Antoine, no one told me about the roller coaster of emotions, and I wish they would have because it was scary at times. Thanks, Antoine.
Thanks, Crystal. I think we could feel your emotion. That was good. Okay, so I'm gonna go now to Tom. So Tom, what's something no one told you before your first contest that you wish they had?
I did get some really good mentoring, as I said, for a speech contest, and I was very lucky that I've got some great advice. But one thing that either I didn't get or I didn't hear, probably I didn't hear, was that it's not about me. It's about, as we've been talking about, it's about our audience. And what's the message? And are you connecting with your audience? It was all about me my first time. And that's not the way that at least I'm not successful when I talk about that and when I practice that. And I would say that I would find that person, look for that head nod, look for that smile. And that, I don't know what that is, but I would pay money for that. As soon as I get that first head nod, I'm like, wow, I'm okay. And so connecting with the audience is crucial to being a valid speaker and being a competition winner and doing your best. But the other thing I'll say really, really briefly is that it's almost like editing your own writing. Sometimes you don't want to be your own critic. You don't want to find an error in your speech or in your presentation. So getting that mentor or getting that, I call it the truth person, getting that truth person to give you that advice that maybe you don't want to hear is really important. So those two things are, I think, would be the best advice I could give future contestants. And by the way, I just want to go off script here for a second. I just want to thank Crystal and Joe and Anne for the timing and everything. It really means a lot to me for you guys to spend this time in doing that. And thank you all for attending. Back to you, Antoine.
Thank you, Tom, for your answer. That was good advice. So now I'm gonna ask Joe, what's something no one told you before your first contest that you wish they had?
That's a great contest. When Tom started going into his thank yous, I thought we were finished. So I'm not really prepared for this question, but I'll answer it anyway. And I think Crystal and Tom alluded to my answer, and it would be in short form, expect the unexpected. And these are things that before my first contest, I didn't know. I didn't know how my body was going to react to being nervous standing up and speaking. I had a clue, and my body will react differently. I remember when I first met my wife, Gwen. Married now for 42 years, I'd marry the same woman in a heartbeat. But when I first saw her, blonde hair, blue eyes, beautiful, she's still a beautiful woman. And I walked away thinking I don't have a hope. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder, said, I want you to meet someone. We're walking towards my future wife. And my body all of a sudden started to leak. I was sweating all over my armpits, my chests. It was rolling down my head. I had to go to the washroom every 5 minutes to towel down. The unexpected, how to control that nervousness. And the first time I stood up to speak, I didn't expect my body to react the way it did, but it taught me a valuable lesson. It's good that I went through the process of the effects of being nervous. It taught me, how do I relax before I stand up and speak? And everybody is different. Some people will pace back and forth. Some people will listen to music. Some people will sit and relax and just close their eyes and meditate. There's different techniques how to get those butterflies to align. And everybody has their own technique. And my advice is when the unexpected happens, what is it we can learn from that? And to be able to learn how to control that nervousness. I remember at the World Championships in the finals, even doing the briefing before and checking the mic, my mic kept cutting out on me. And they never corrected it really in that session. They said they'd have it all set. When I stood up and delivered my speech in the finals, my mic was cutting out on me. Expect the unexpected. And instead of getting upset, learn from the process. Is there something I could have done differently? Take ownership for that. So when the unexpected happens, don't blame anybody else. Think about what we can do to help that process so it wouldn't happen again. Back to you, Antoine.
Thanks, Joe, for your answers. I think you gave another great answer. I would like to thank the three panelists, Joe, Tom, and Crystal. I think you gave great answers to all the questions. I think it's helped everyone. So now I'm gonna ask the audience, do you have questions for the panelists? Any thoughts, any questions? Yes, David? You're on mute.
Wonder why everybody was looking at me funny. I just wanted to thank Tom for mentioning the elevator scenario. And it's so true, you get on the elevator and you walk in, person's looking at the floor, and the first thing I want to do is say hello. So I'll say maybe something like, "That's some weather we're having today, isn't it?" And it doesn't matter what the weather is. Could be sunny, could be rainy,
Yeah.
could be stormy, but I'm looking for an answer. And once we hit that answer, then I start a little conversation with him, and then the next thing you know, he's going out the door, and the last thing I'll say to him is, "Have a great day, my friend," and hopefully he'll be leaving with a smile on his face. But I wanted to thank you, Tom, for that because it's so true about the elevator scenario.
Thank you, David. There's two of us anyway that talk on elevators, right?
That's right. That's so true.
Thanks for your comments, David.
Thank you.
Paul.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Antoine. This has been a great session, I must say. I will tell you that I've read that the International Speech Contest, the World Championship, begins with about 35,000 people at this time of the year, and then we bring it down to just a couple of dozen. I wish there were more people here tonight because you've got some great panelists. And I've got a question, and I want to hear the answer from each of them, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I think we got 11 minutes left, and I don't think they're very verbose. They'll be able to give me a yes or a no. So here's my question. It's about feedback. I've heard all of you talk about feedback. And I've competed a few times, and we've got mentors and we've got coaches. You can hire a coach. You could hire half a dozen different world championship winners to coach you. I want to talk about the feedback from the audience members. So many times I have finished a contest, I've won, I've lost, I've placed, and people will come up to me and give me advice. How, and I'm going to ask Joe first, how do you decide what feedback to take and which feedback you're going to leave behind? Because you're getting conflicting opinions. I get it, one after the other. That was great. Oh, that stunk. Take it out. Joe, keep it, leave it. How do you decide?
That, Paul, is a great question because it took me a long time to decipher how to answer that question. It's directly linked to confidence. To be able to listen to the feedback, and I never discard feedback. I put it aside. I still put it down. I have it down. And sometimes feedback, you're not, or the speaker is not ready for it. So that feedback, yet you might think, okay, I can't use that. And a lot of times I would put it aside and think, okay, now I get where that feedback is coming from, and this is where it will fit. There is going to be feedback that you won't use. And Paul, you are a great speaker and you have a great way of connecting to your audience. And so you have many strengths. So those strengths you already have in that treasure box. You want to keep those strengths. You want to keep those strengths and be able to have the confidence to say, no, I can't use that. And to be with your mentor or whoever it is. And I was given a valuable piece of advice from somebody who mentored me through one of the world championships. And he asked me, how many mentors do you have? And I said, three. He said, that's too many. You need to find one person that you trust and that you will go through the process. They will tell you the truth. You know what to put aside, what to take, and it becomes your speech and your speech only. Does that help you, Paul?
Joe, I I love you. Yes, that
Okay.
is exactly. It took me years to get to that point, but we think alike. Oh dear, I've tipped off the other two. Crystal, a question, feedback. Take it or leave it.
Paul, I take it all, but doesn't mean I use it all. I want to hear what people think. I don't determine or decide if I'm going to use it in that moment when I hear it either. I take it back and I determine if their feedback, that specific point or whatever it is that they've given me, is that going to help enhance my message or make it clearer so that I can connect with my audience better? Or is it going to help me with my delivery? Because those are the two things that I want to focus on. Language, yes, if it's something wasn't clear. If it doesn't meet any of those three judging criterias, then it's really just probably their preference, and it's not going to make me better. It might make their perception of it better, but I'm trying to connect with all people, not just one or two. So I take it all, but I do not incorporate it all, and I don't make that decision at that moment. I really focus on, is it going to make my message clearer, stronger? Is it going to help clarify any language? And is it going to help with my delivery? And if it's yes, then I'll look at it, incorporate it, and see how it goes.
There you go. Crystal, that's why you've been my mentor for so many years. Thank you. Hey, Tom, you know the question, right? Uh, how do you decide? Take it or leave it?
Yeah, it's the only thing I can add, Paul, to what's already been said that might have some value for our members here on the call is that I want to make it a point to thank them because to taking the time to provide me advice and it show that they're invested and they want to help. But I also agree you have to internalize it and you have to think, is this going to help my message? And I'll just say that I come from a large Italian American family and a bunch of aunts and uncles. And I had this aunt who always said, is that right? Is that right? Even if I didn't agree with somebody, is that right? And then they feel like they're heard, and then and then you can take it from there. But thank you, Paul, for that question.
No, Tom, and thank you for your answer. I grew up in an Italian neighborhood. I know what you're talking about. Antoine, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Paul, for the questions. There's anyone else got a question or comments wants to do?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Sarah?
Is there a microphone, like when you go in a speech contest at the area level, will there be a microphone that you have to use?
Who wants to answer? Joe?
I can take that. Sarah, you won't have to worry about a microphone probably for your area and your division. When you get to district, you'll have a microphone.
Okay, thank you. I've
Can
got
I
a couple
add to
more.
that?
Oh, yep.
Sorry, Sarah. I think it depends on the venue. It really depends on the venue because I know here in PEI, we had contests in Summerside and we had a microphone in it wasn't a huge area either, but we had the lectern and the microphone. So if you're competing and you're not sure, ask the organizers, is there going to be a microphone? So then you can be prepared because it is dependent on the venue.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question is, if you are doing your speech like how you described, Crystal, so I'll ask you, but if you were doing it and you're reluctant to learn something word for word and you just want to kind of have your basic story that you're going to tell, if you did make it upper level, do you have to do the exact same speech or is just kind of approximately the same? Okay.
Yeah. When I delivered my speech for the humorous contest, I did it at the club, I did it at the area, I did it at the division, and I did it at the district. Not one of them were the same. Yeah, they had the same main points and the same message, but it was definitely not word for word. And I changed it up. And if I forgot something, nobody knew except for me. And maybe the people that heard it at each level were like, oh, she changed that. But maybe I did that to improve it. So they don't really know that I forgot it.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I was just wondering, when you go to a speech competition, do you have to say, when you start your speech, do you address, fellow Toastmasters and guests? Do you do that or not?
I'm going to let one of the other panelists take that one.
Okay, so at a speech contest, it is a little bit different, Sarah. You get introduced, and it's your name, speech title, and your name. So you go right into your speech from there. But that's a great question, and it's always good to practice that too. If you that intro, if you are competing, so it's a little different.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah, for your questions. Paul again?
Yes, no, I just wanted to answer or comment on Sarah's last question. The first time I competed at the district level, I was told that until I addressed the contest chair, he was going to stand on stage and not sit down. So the earlier in the speech that I said, and thank you, Mr. Contest Chair, uh, I had the stage to myself. So I would say during the briefing, Sarah, talk to the contest chair and say, do you care? Are you going to give me a hard time if I don't acknowledge you, maybe until the very end of my speech? But good luck.
Thank you, Paul. David.
Just looking at contest chairs should do the trick. Follow them with your eyes until they sit down. They give you a look, then you move on. You don't have to acknowledge them. I've never done it before. So just to give you a tip. Another thing I'm going to add to the comments of your question. It happens after you compete. Some people will come and see you. But a lot of times what people are giving your opinions. They're not feedback. So there's a difference between feedback. Feedback is something when you're asking somebody to look out for something for you or work on a project. It's a difference. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it, but don't take it at heart. Whatever people tell you after the contest, most of the times their opinions. Opinions aren't the same as feedback. For anybody of you that are starting out there, and so because some people will give you an opinion, that's all it is. It's not the same, an opinion and feedback. That's all I wanted to say. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, David, for your comments. Does anyone have something he wants to add or questions for the panelists? So it's 9. So thank you, everyone. I would especially thank again the panelists, Joe, Crystal, and Tom. You give very good answers. I think it will help everyone here. I think that was very, very instructive, and I think it convinced me, so I should, and over the next year, I should compete in speech contests again. So I think that was the goal here, and I think that's what it is. So, and I would like also to thank Anne, who took the role of a timer in the last minute, and I would like to thank everyone to came in tonight. So, Tom, I'll let you to the closing words.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Antoine. It's been a pleasure working with you. For those of you that don't know, Antoine was on my DTM team a couple years back, so we're helping him out this year with his. So it's great to work with you. This session was recorded, so if you want to listen to it back, it will be on the YouTube District 45 YouTube channel. Just go to the front page and up at the right hand corner, click on the YouTube button, and in maybe a couple days you'll be able to view it if you want, and spread the word of others that couldn't be here tonight so they can check it out. That's all I have. Does anybody else have any comments? Oh, I
I'd
do
just
have
like
one
to
other thing. I am
say,
sorry. I did forget. I'm sorry. There is a TLI and club officer training this Saturday at online at 9 a.m. Atlantic, 8 a.m. Eastern. If you need to get your club officers to get those at least 4 club officers trained, that would be a great opportunity to do so. So. That's it for me.
I would just like to say I hope to see everybody at the conference in May.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful part of the
Yeah.
world. So everybody welcome, and I hope to see everybody there. Thank you.
See you there,
Good
David.
night,
See you
everyone.
there.
See you there.
Okay.
Great
Good
job,
night.
everyone.
See ya. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Right.
Anne, do you have the ability to stop recording now?
Oh,
I don't
she left.
see it. Oh, did Anne leave? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Antoine left. I wanted to say good job to him.
He did a great job. Yep.
Did. Nice to see you, Tom. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.